trees of peace in Africa and Canada at the same time.
Okay, so you're going to repeat that.
We just began recording, so perhaps you'd like to tell people what we're doing.
Hello, good morning. So we are here in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, in the Great Lakes, and we are with the City of Mississauga, and at a local park. What is the name of the park?
The park's name is Meadowwood Park.
Yeah, so Meadowwood Park. We are planting trees here, including a tree of peace and reconciliation in solidarity with our partners in Africa and UnityNet Africa Diaspora. We have our team here from UnityNet International, which is building the Unity Network, the global Unity Network. And so we are here to plant our first tree of peace and reconciliation in the west end of the Greater Toronto area. And so before I start today, I want to say a land acknowledgement. We say this at all of our events. So to acknowledge those who came before us on this land, I would say we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we are committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on here in the Greater Toronto area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we are on is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So with that, we begin what we call the Greater Toronto 2022 Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting event on this June 5th, 2022 here in Mississauga, Ontario. We're here in Mississauga at a Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremony taking place exactly 2 years after our colleague Carlos planted 10 trees of peace and reconciliation in local communities across Sierra Leone in West Africa. So this event is being co-hosted by UnityNet GTA, which is part of UnityNet International, and Drawdown Markham, the organization I co-founded, so we are connecting two communities in the Greater Toronto area. It was the members of Drawdown Markham that planted the very first tree of peace and reconciliation on Sunday, September 15th, 2019. That tree was planted in Pickering, Ontario, which means the celebration now connects three communities in the GTA, Markham, Mississauga, and Pickering. So the first tree was planted in solidarity with our friends from the Greater Unity Network in Hamilton, Bermuda, who planted their own tree of peace and reconciliation in a park located at the crossroads of the city, where Bermuda itself is considered to be at the crossroads of the Atlantic Ocean, partway between North America, Turtle Island, and Africa. The first tree planting on September 15th, 2019 in Locust Hill, Ontario, was also co-hosted by Drawdown Markham and the We Energime Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization. It was done in support of peaceful interfaith dialogue, especially in light of Laudato Si, the message from Pope Francis on care for Mother Earth. The event also highlighted Global Cooperation Day, which happens every October 4th. October 4th, 2019 celebrated the 800th anniversary of the meeting between St. Francis of Assisi and the Sultan Al-Kamil in the year 1219. The event in 2019 was done in support of the Drawdown Markham Community Climate Action Hub Collaborative Exchange project and the Spark for Humanity project by We Are Mother Earth and GTI Enterprises, which is a cooperative organization. The event also marked the beginning of a local journey toward the eventual establishment of the Drawdown Markham Go Local campaign for community resilience and adaptation. This Go Local campaign is supported by my own Drawdown Markham Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaborative, also known as an INAB collaborative. which is intended to empower the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who wish to implement the local solutions for globalizing the global goals, the Sustainable Development Goals currently, by building and establishing a local or regional community unity garden cooperative learning center in order to build climate smart, safe, and sustainable communities and cities pursuant to the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. So now I will take a break. That was page 1. I will continue later. But for now, I'd like everybody to introduce themselves. I am Lloyd Helferty from Energime University, which is based in Manhattan. I am their person that I guess you could say is helping to build this network around the world so we can implement regenerative infrastructure solutions in all our communities, basically one community at a time. This is actually in support of a program called the Climate Smart Food Program that was developed in Toronto by Science for Peace members through our Community Sustainability Working Group. So these are protocols for the implementation of what's called Climate Smart Food certification that allows local communities to certify the food that they produce locally in their community as being climate smart, which means addressing food security, addressing climate, and also addressing the nutritional needs of local communities through these infrastructure developments, which we call regenerative, which means food forests, means farms. Regenerative farms means regenerative gardens, means actually some of this controlled environment solutions that could be considered climate smart. So that's myself. I'd like to hand it over to my colleague Stephanie to introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie Schuller. I'm based in the Greater Toronto Area right now. I'm a founder and director of UnityNet International, where we're building a network where we can share and communicate food security, food learning systems globally across the world, locally, and share all kinds of ancient and cultural wisdoms regarding the medicines that we can get from not only immersing ourselves in nature, but also all of the medicine that is in each of the trees and the grasses and whatnot. I'm completing my doctorate of education at the University of Toronto, OISE, the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, focused on holistic well-being. And I'm also the founder and director of the Maui Aloha Project, global eco-village initiative aimed to co-create inclusive communities around the world focused on the well-being of its people and the planet and all of its inhabitants.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Excellent.
So would you like to introduce yourself? We'll go around in a circle with you.
I'm Stephen Carr from Eastern Ontario. Just at the last minute, invited to come and participate. So I'm happy to be here.
Great. My name is John McKinnon. I work for the City of Mississauga for Parks, Forestry, and the Environment. I help implement our 1 million tree program, where we're looking to plant 1 million trees by the year 2032.
Just a minute, Samson. Oh,
Marty. My name is Thomas Martin Techmeyer. And I'm a community volunteer consistently since 1987. Also in the workplace. I work on demand as a bioenergetic wellness consultant and a practitioner of different internal arts and science and health. So one of the reasons I'm here today at this first planting is because in Ottawa, we would like to plant a new pine peace tree at Victoria Island related to the Chaudière Falls and the surrounding area. And in June 2015, there was a planting with interfaith participation. And unfortunately, with all the disruption on Victoria Island and the other islands, The pine tree, despite our efforts, the freethefalls.ca, the tree was neglected and died a couple years ago. So we would like, on the same theme of planting a tree with relevance to peace and reconciliation. And I've been a follower of the teachings of Grandfather William Commanda. And he...
Samson, will you be able to introduce yourself shortly?
It will only happen when everybody wants it. So that's why we need inclusivity. Thank you.
Hi, Mark. This is Mark Busangi. I am a co-founder of UnityNet, where we're looking to regenerate the Earth, and not just the Earth, but us humans and all the species. I'm also the founder of CarbonShot.Earth, where our principal motivations are to regenerate our Earth, make this planet even more thriving for all of us.
Speak to the camera, Mike.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I was addressing everybody, but yeah.
You have a
Okay.
worldwide audience.
Yeah, okay. So you're hearing me well enough, Andrew?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to continue just on the second page. So I was going to say our goal, even 2 years later after planting the first tree, is still the eventual establishment of a network of unity gardens that are connected together virtually through our Interchange for Peace virtual collaborative network, not just here in the Greater Toronto area and not just across Ontario or Canada, but globally. So at first, we proposed a name as Climate Smart Life Value Peace Education and Training Center. This was proposed to the City of Markham and the region of York and was intended to be a youth-focused eco-education training center and an open innovation zone, done in support of the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, which began last year, 2021, and continues until the year 2030. Our event in 2019 also highlighted the importance of the WHO Shanghai Declaration on promoting health in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, as well as focusing on climate smart solutions and life value peace education and practicum training, along with the demonstration of the various cultural, high-tech, and life science solutions which support the achievement of the global goals, especially at the local level. The areas where our UnityNet Unity Gardens could have some of their greatest impact are in the areas of healthcare and healthy lifestyle solutions, especially focused on local people and communities that are the most marginalized in our communities, including the homeless, the differently abled, the elderly, and of course, young people who are seeking a better future. Today's Mississauga Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting that we're doing right now is being hosted by members of the Mississauga INAB Collaborative Empowerment Team, which is building a local network here using the Drawdown Markham Heptamatrix Partnership template. The Unity Network Canada event is also being done in solidarity with UnityNet Africa and Diaspora and UnityNet Nigeria, ahead of their Global Climate Smart Youth Forum event that will take place on World Food Day, October 16th, 2022. On this day, we are planting this tree of peace and reconciliation in order to celebrate June 5th, World Environment Day, as a symbolic for us because it is the start of a journey to 2030 and beyond. This is especially true as we seek to start demonstrating the various regenerative, climate smart food production solutions and begin teaching all of our young people in the local communities how to do it themselves. We plan this tree of peace and reconciliation in order to establish sacred spaces in each of our local communities. Those sacred spaces are intended to become places where people can gather peacefully, where they set aside their differences, no matter who they might be, and come to talk about local solutions. Because we want to create an economy of people that will respect and support our young people, our elders, our seniors, our differently abled people, as well as Mother Earth and each other, no matter our religion or politics or skin color. It makes no difference since we are all human. So now, before I go forward, we can begin planting some of the trees if we wish. And I don't have the text for the white pine, but the The white pine is over there.
Stephanie has
You
it,
were
so
gonna-
she-
Yeah, no, I will talk about the white pine, but if somebody can get the white pine tree, I'll mention the symbolic significance of the white pine. The white pine is representative of the original white pine tree, the peace tree that was planted by the original 5 indigenous communities as a way to end their hostilities. So when they planted the white pine tree, and I don't know the exact year, but that white pine actually exists. I believe it's in upstate New York. These 5 indigenous communities came together, and when they planted the tree, they actually buried their weapons under the tree. So the roots of the tree, as it grew, would enmesh those weapons underneath the soil, so that they would always remember that they planted the tree of peace. And in that way, we're taking the same species, which is the white pine, which has 5 needles, representing the 5 nations that came together in peace so long ago. And so the new symbology of the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation is to take that same type of story and translate it to a Tree of Peace and Reconciliation that also represents forgiveness, which is actually the message of Pope Francis and the signing of Laudato Si and the issuance of this memo to say, look, we need to come together as human beings, as human species, in peace, forgiveness, and reconciliation. So these sacred sites, as we plant these trees, become places in the community that allow us to come together to have conversations about what we would like to do in our local community to achieve what we call a compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Okay, so we can, if we want to, we could actually stop the recording at this point and continue after we dig some holes, and then we'll gather around. Once we plant the pine tree, we can continue to have this recordings. Thank you,
Okay,
Andrew.
very well. We're still streaming, but I will stop the recording now. Give me just a moment, please.
You don't need to see our logistics. We'll dig the holes and then we'll do something after.
And you said Samson is planting right now as well.
Samson has planted while you were talking.
That's we could see him doing that. That was beautiful.
Yes.
We should acknowledge that when we
Yes.
go back to the recording.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Well, actually-
in Africa, there's going to be a number of plantings across Africa in different communities on the same day. Right? This is what we're doing. We're twinning this tree with trees in Sierra Leone and Kenya and South Africa and Uganda. Like,
It's
we're hoping-
Awareness Day.
exactly. We're bringing together the indigenous communities around the world.
So I'm gonna pause the recording now.
Right when it
And
takes
we'll pick it up.
pills.
I'm gonna pause the recording. I'm gonna pause the recording. Let me know when you want me to start again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now that we've begun recording again, Stephanie, perhaps you let people know what we're recording.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Stephanie Schuller. We're in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, and we are digging 10 holes for trees of peace and reconciliation, our planting ceremony today. And you can see everybody working hard, digging their various trees, pine tree, red maple, cottonwood, and a basswood. And we're going to share the symbolism of each of the trees, but we're working hard in the nearly 90-degree weather in Canada, believe it or not, and it's beautiful. So you can just watch us planting, getting the holes done.
Preparation here. Yeah. So. Oh, okay. Another one.
Oh, there's little things there. So what do I do with the sod?
You just break it up and just leave it around the plant. They'll buy the green.
From 4 hours east. And Marty and I met through Maui Alona Project Canada. We've been hanging out weekly online for more than a year, trying to co-create new living, learning, and healing communities. And they're good friends. We appreciate everybody preparing for these trees.
Right back.
Where are those things? I'll take a second one. That might be better. Oh, that's a bit deep, I think.
We're still recording it. Maybe before we put the total.
Yeah, we should all plant that tree together.
Read the significance.
We should gather around before you do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna call it until we maybe read the significance.
Cool. I'll do the end. Okay, the bouquet. One species of tree each.
Stephanie, we lost the sound. Are you on mute there?
No,
Are you on
shouldn't
mute?
be on mute.
Oh, I hear you.
No.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right, Kathy.
We're just being we're listening to the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees.
And the trees, gotcha.
We're well, they're working hard while I'm listening to the birds, the bees, the flowers, and the trees.
Did you plant the tree? You planted the tree.
Yes.
The tree.
The tree, the pine tree, but I didn't complete it so that we could read aloud the symbolisms of the trees that we're planting here in Canada.
That's about right.
Yeah. We could finish putting the soil on them as we read the symbolism.
Yeah.
So leave the last few of the 4 different species
Okay,
to
yes.
finish off.
So this is a kind of maple, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, red maple. Bless you. Perfect. Let's wait to do the last end of soil.
Maybe the next 8-10
Oh, yeah.
years, these grow
Like
and give shade. And a home for birds and squirrels out here. Yeah. I said we're just hoping that, over a period of next 8 to 10 years, these trees that we've planted, they become habitat for native and local birds and squirrels,
And rabbits.
and rabbits.
and hopefully children will come play in
Hopefully
parks
children come play. in
and maybe
parks.
hang from trees.
That's the ultimate goal, right? That
Yes.
you play, you in tune with nature.
Yes, and they might even learn science being here in the park or in any
Yes,
park,
that's a good one.
participating in these
Maybe
things
next
because
time we should do that.
STEM education,
Yes.
science, technology,
Yes.
engineering, and math. I mean, is that
Actually,
here?
we call it STEAM education.
And STEAM, including the
Yes,
arts.
yes.
So the kids should
And
be
agriculture,
outside.
and A for agriculture as well. No,
A for
Yes.
agriculture as well.
Yes,
Yes. So hopefully kids will be immersed in these spaces. It will be natural, and the old paradigm of the schoolhouse of sitting and sedentary and imposed curriculum will
Has to change.
eradicate, and we can encourage all multiliteracies and all interests and all abilities to participate in the ways that can contribute and are so vital in each of the sectors. of,
Say
Where
one
they're
branch
also
with one
learning
change at a
indigenous
time.
language.
What's that?
Where they're also learning indigenous language.
Learning, yes, all about cultures and the,
And-
the
and-
local peoples. Yeah.
Indigenous dances.
All of it, all of it. So now we're going to move into the reading of the
Fine.
significance of the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
and we're going to finish the last plantings of each of these trees, putting the last bits of soil on.
okay.
So I think that's
You
here,
should put it close to the main tree.
right here.
Okay.
And we're going to have Marty come back when he can. And
Did anybody realize that Canada was going to be so hot?
I know.
That we're breaking records. in
you
Canada.
not Africa will be surprised what's going on here with the temperature and California. You'll be taking off your suit jacket here, Prince Andrew.
We'll see about that.
When you come.
That's
when
why
they
I
say-
wore shorts and
Yeah,
a
you did the right thing.
Bahamas shirt because I knew it was going to be warm.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to begin this next finishing off of our tree planting for peace and reconciliation with talking about the significance of each of the trees we planted, starting with Lloyd talking about the pine.
Okay, I'm going to say what I actually said earlier is that one of the trees of the 10 trees we're planting here is a white pine tree. It's a very small one, looks like it's only a couple of years old. But this is symbolic of the original tree of peace that was planted by the 5 indigenous communities of the Great Lakes who came together so long ago to plant the tree of peace. They chose the white pine because it has 5 needles, and the 5 needles represented the 5 indigenous tribes that were at war with each other at one point, and they decided that they needed to create a symbol of their peace as they came together. So what they did was they planted the white pine tree as a symbol, as a tree of peace. When they planted that tree, they threw their weapons underneath the tree as a symbol of their coming together in peace. So we're using the same species, the white pine tree, in this watershed, the Great Lakes. And so we are using this symbolic tree today, but renaming it to the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation, which also commemorates peace, reconciliation, and forgiveness, and the process of the Indigenous communities now coming together in Canada with the government of Canada, also in this process of reconciliation, as has been done in the past in so many countries. So this Tree of Peace and Reconciliation also serves as a sacred space in all of our local communities. Here in Canada, in the Great Lakes area, we do plant the white pine tree because this was sacred to the Indigenous peoples here, pre-contact, as they say, Columbus, in the doctrine of discovery, where they so-called discovered North America, even though it was occupied by the Indigenous peoples. And so this is why we say the opening of our ceremony today as well, to recognize the Indigenous peoples that we are working together with. Unfortunately, we don't have any direct Indigenous peoples today. However, at future ceremonies at this Tree of Peace, we will come together with the Indigenous peoples of Mississauga and the Greater Toronto area to continue our engagement with the community. And this is why we're planting this particular tree. I'm hoping that everybody here will be able to grab a handful of soil. We'll gather around and we will fill the hole and show that we are together. We are in solidarity for the planting of this sacred tree, which is the first for the city of Mississauga. And so this ceremony is rather important for us. It is the beginning of a journey for the next 8 years, at least, as we develop the global network, our Unity network, in the local communities with the Heptamatrix partnership as a template, where we work with the local governments, we work with the local Indigenous people, we work with the local communities, the artists, the people in the business community, to come together around this tree to have discussions, putting aside all our differences, to have a honest discussion about the solutions that we can implement here in the city of Mississauga, so that our children can have a better future. And so with that, I'd like to put the soil by the tree and have the ceremony where we say this is the tree that will begin this process. We had originally called the process the Unity Pandemic because it began as a conversation at the beginning of this health pandemic, the COVID-19. And we wanted the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation to be something like a pandemic that basically goes around the world in a way that is contagious. So we want every local community to begin this contagious planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, every community coming together to do their own tree of peace and reconciliation by seeing the communities that are examples of where they're engaging the young people, especially in the solutions to achieving a better future for themselves and Mother Earth. Yes, absolutely.
So in the National Capital Region, around Victoria Island and Chaudière Falls, back in the day, like it's been used by First Nations people for 8,000 to 10,000 years. And what happens is that there was a peace tree there, and the same story that you were sharing, Lloyd, is that this was an international, a Turtle Island meeting place, not only for culture, for trade, for diplomacy, and people would carry their weapons before they went onto the island to do their negotiations.
Still perfect. You're good.
Pine tree, because to me, what we're doing, it's a happening, it's an intercultural, interfaith event. And my good friend, Marianne Karsh, is not able to be with us. She's a theta healer and also is associated with Arbor Vitae. And she just sent me a text message to say that in Celtic spirituality, the light radiated by the white pine tree is a reminder of the light of Christ. And she showed me one day when we were at Newmarket in the forest, and we had either raindrops or dewdrops on the white pine needles. And it was so beautiful to see that radiant light. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. We are all
to solidarity, to resilience, and to regeneration.
yes. Thank you, Mark. So putting the soil back into the ground. I need to go get. I wanted to give this to you as well, so you're aware of who we are, and there's a bunch of our links and such. So you can, so you can
Oh, here's
actually
a pack.
pass it along if you like to the city of Markham. The city council and such as well. Well, we would have liked to have the city council here, even the mayor. That's what I was arranging for Markham.
Yeah,
That'll be next year, where we actually have the mayor coming out, saying the word, and we'll take photos and have the like local press and everything, the local newspapers,
Oh yeah.
Rogers TV, stuff like.
Yeah, they're probably very strong on that.
Mhm.
You just need a bit, maybe they always need a month.
Yeah. We actually look for like 6 months.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's-
At least, like we're already, like I talked with my city councilor last year, like discussing doing it in Markham, and she said, yeah, absolutely. There's a site right next, like a few hundred meters from my house, a brand new park, it's a new development, and we're hoping that we can establish one of these learning centers right where I live, like in my own community, because it's still under development. It's blank, it's like blank land. There's nothing there.
Yeah,
There's no farm. It's right next to the highway.
Drop of
Highway
wisdom.
407.
Okay.
So the
This is
idea
hearsay.
to actually
I was
put
told
one of these learning centers
that gardening
adjacent
is
to
next to
a
godliness.
school and a community center. They're going to build there. So they already have that.
Get your hands dirty. Build up your immune system.
Okay, we're gonna move to the next tree over here to be planted. This and this, these are the same.
This is the cottonwood tree.
These ones are the. Okay, and so let's finish off doing the cottonwood, and we'll have the reader stand by the cottonwood as we are planting it. So as we're planting it, we can read the cottonwood details.
Who's got cottonwood? John, do you have?
Are you cottonwood?
Oh, yes.
Yes, Marty is
Is
Cottonwood.
that my task?
That's your task
Yeah,
to
my gosh, I
read
thought it was a
this
souvenir. Well, it'll be a souvenir after I read it.
after you read it.
Oh, I just need to unfold it.
So here we have planted a few cottonwood trees, 3 cottonwood trees. And we're going to, if you stand closer in a little bit, there, stand closer in
Over
that
here?
way. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is a great opportunity for learning. I'm curious and always interested and enthusiastic to learn more. Cottonwood tree significance. The cottonwood tree, which grows in abundance in parts of Turtle Island, North America, its trunk was carved into dugout canoes. The Apache tribes considered cottonwood trees as a symbol of the sun, and some northern Mexican tribes associated cottonwoods with the afterlife, using cottonwood boughs in funeral rituals. Cottonwood roots were used for carving kachina dolls, masks, and other ceremonial objects by the Hopi, Pueblo, and Navajo tribes. The cottonwood was also viewed as a medicine tree in many Plains Indian tribes with sacred bowls and Sundance artifacts, often being made from cottonwood trunks and branches. The buds contain salicin and thus is antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial properties, as well as provide a yellow dye as a decongestant, chest balm, and steams to reduce pain and inflammation, and for sore muscles and joint pain. Clothing and secrete a sticky resin used for glue. Cottonwood bark and leaves were also used as medicinal herbs by many different tribes, particularly to treat wounds and swelling. The bark can be chewed to treat toothaches, headaches, fevers, and more. As valuable as cottonwoods are to us, they're also critical to healthy ecosystem. As the fastest growing tree on Turtle Island, cottonwoods rely on resilient characteristics, including an extensive root system and the ability to process up to 200 gallons of water per day to thrive. But another way in which cottonwoods are unique is their ability to process a range of contaminants and pollutants. This series of processes, collectively known as, anybody? Photoremediation.
Phytoremediation.
Oh, help me. Phytoremediation is when a plant relative graciously takes toxin substances and makes them less harmful to the surrounding ecosystem by either trapping and isolating these substances in one spot, filtering the substance through its system, or breaking down and eliminating the substance from the environment altogether. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing.
Marty.
And I got my souvenir.
Here's your souvenir.
I thought this came from John.
Oh no, I didn't even know how fast.
Well, there we go. Thank you for our cottonwood tree and our white pine tree. And now we move over here towards our
Which one's- what's that?
basswood
Basswood
tree. And that is our friend.
So the basswood tree. The flowers of the American basswood provide abundant sources of nectar and are very attractive to a wide range of insects, including more than 25 different species of moths and butterflies. Wow. Because this tree decays rapidly, it also provides habitat for cavity nesters, such as Chelida woodpeckers, small mammals, and wood ducks. Winter buds provide food for deer and birds. Basswood is harvested for use in carvings, turnings, furniture, moldings, millwork, musical instruments, and shutters. It is also valued as a shade and ornamental tree. All parts of the basswood are usable, and most are also edible: flowers, seeds, leaves, buds, and sap. The indigenous soak the bark for 2 to 4 weeks to loosen long fibers. They use the fibers for many of their needs: bags, baskets, belts, fishnets, house mats, snowshoe netting, ropes, sewing thread, and even suturing wounds. It was used where a lot of fiber strength was not needed. The Ojibwe ate the young buds raw or cooked as greens as they used the sweet sap, boiling it down to a syrup. The wood was also traditionally used for laths and shoemakers' tables. It also was used to make charcoal for gunpowder. Fiber and shoes were even woven from it since prehistoric times, like other bark fabrics. A hot bath with basswood flowers, followed by a cup of linden flower tea, is said to soothe cold symptoms and as a remedy for insomnia and nervous irritability. The flowers are also used in beauty products. And the tea made from the blossoms was used to treat headaches and has been used as a sedative drink.
Wow.
Thank
So
you,
many things.
Steve.
Thank you. You've got all the solutions over here.
See, we plant a tree and it helps to solve so many issues.
Life is right. For us humans.
It's the indigenous knowledge that we are actually, this is part of the reasoning and the rationale for building the global indigenous network, is to tap into the knowledge of the indigenous peoples around the world and share this information, especially with the young generation, so they can understand the significance of this and planting these trees and why it's important. And we are I believe, an edge of forest species, humans. I believe our best habitats are at the edge of the trees, and where we can see. We love the open meadows and the open views, but we're not a forest species. We're not a plain species. We're the edge of forest species, where we find our most comfortable zone is by the edge of a lake, by the edge of a meadow. This is where we love to be, with the forest behind us and a view up front. And that's, I believe, where we love to be. That's right.
So beautiful, though. The basswood tree has so much medicine,
Yeah.
many uses, and are age old, but we have forgotten in our sophisticated ways. We have forgotten lots of these wisdoms. And that is what the Unity Network International is about. Awaken, remember, and share all of the wisdoms that we already know for the people who have come at the very beginning of time, learned everything. And we've got to capture all of those oral traditions and oral wisdoms.
Connecting to the land.
Yes.
Very important.
The watersheds. That's why I said the sacred site and watershed map is so important to teach our kids, to understand where they are, what is there, and to nurture it as part of themselves, to understand that they are part of nature as well.
It makes me even more informed now. Connect with indigenous, because all these are native plants, right? Because these which bring so much to us.
Healing
Healing.
ourselves. We are healing ourselves. We're in that process toward the regenerative economy that leaves no one behind.
That's right. Going local, understanding what we have around us is so important.
And being stewards, just as we say that the natives, the indigenous peoples are the stewards of the land. They understand that it's important to take care of the land. It's because the land will nurture us as well.
I got a great example of the segue to that. Yeah. I was in the National Capital Region, and there was a champion hoop dancer, a young man, and he was talking to the young First Nations people, and he was saying, when you see litter on the ground, the people who do that are throwing garbage at Mother Earth. So what do you do with that? So if you're a steward and you take care of things, and the practical living principle is I, see, and do. So if you see something, whether you threw it or somebody else threw it, how people, I guess, adopt the mile of the highway.
Which is actually very common practice in the United States. They don't do that here. If you go on the highways, especially the federal highways, you'll see the signs along the highway.
More and more
adopt
it's
the highway
happening.
program.
So now we
So we
have
have one more tree to
the red
say.
maple to move towards and complete our planting. We have 3 red maples, and we have 3 basswoods and 3 cottonwoods and 1 white pine. And so Mark from Unity Net in red maple tree.
Trees of the Adirondacks, more well known as the red maple tree, is one of the most abundant and widespread trees in eastern North America. This beautiful red maple leaf has been the national symbol of Canada for over 150 years. Right? The red and white are the official colors of Canada, proclaimed by King George V in 1921. And according to historians, maple leaf began to serve as a Canadian symbol as early as the 1700s. Long before the arrival of European settlers, Aboriginal peoples had already discovered the food properties of maple sap, which they gathered every spring. And since the 1800s, Canadians have paid tribute to the maple leaf many times. And according to psychologists, maple is a tree that helps to find peace of mind for all people, brings comfort and self-confidence. It is a tree of inner strength and steadiness. Therefore, maple creates barriers to darkness. Very important. Creates barriers to darkness. A solar disc carved from maple and hung over your
Oh, Mark, I unintentionally muted you, so please unmute your device. Please unmute your device. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I don't know.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Start from the beginning.
Should he start from the red maple again?
Let's do that, just to be sure. Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead
Okay.
from the beginning.
Okay. The trees of the Adirondacks, more well known as the red maple tree, is one of the most abundant and widespread trees in North America, eastern North America. The beautiful red maple leaf has been the national symbol of Canada for over 150 years. Red and white, they are the official colors of Canada, proclaimed by King George V in 1921. And according to historians, maple leaf began to serve as a Canadian symbol as early as the 1700s. Long before the arrival of the European settlers, Aboriginal people had already discovered the food properties of the maple sap, which they gathered every spring. And since the 1800s, Canadians have paid tribute to the maple leaf many times. And according to psychologists, maple is a tree that helps to find peace of mind for people of all types. It brings comfort and it brings self-confidence. It is a tree of inner strength and steadiness. We all need that. We all need that to make this happen. And therefore, maple creates barriers to darkness. A solar disc carved from maple and hung over the door. Maple steps at the entrance to the house. The door frames of the entrance door from this tree are all defenses against evil forces. Traditionally, people used maple to build bridges over running water. Build bridges, right? Bridges of hope, peace, connection. And running water is an obstacle to dark forces. And maple did not allow these forces to use the bridge. So important.
Wow.
Yeah. And also maple branches covering the barn or stuck in the walls protect cattle from evil eye and spoilage. Wow. And by the way, a drink from fermented maple juice is a sacred vine of sun worshippers. That, yeah. And the red maple was used by various Native American tribes to make spoons, arrowheads, baskets, and bowls. The leaves of the red maple were frequently used by the Ojibwe beadwork designs. Ojibwe beadwork designs. Native Americans also used the sap to make sugar and syrup. The Iroquois dried, pointed, and sifted the bark to make into bread. Wow. The plant was also used for medicinal purposes. For instance, the Cherokee used an infusion of hives and boiled the inner bark with water as an eye wash. And pioneers reportedly made ink and cinnamon brown and black dyes from a dark extract. Red maple are fast-growing trees that usually reach 60 to 90 feet high.
Wow,
So
thank
much
you.
to know.
Beautiful maple
So
tree.
powerful.
So do we want to move back to the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation? And I've got one more.
There's one more tree.
So
I
there's,
think it's the same. Or did we talk about the
We've talked about all of the trees, I believe.
4 varieties that we
Shall we
okay,
plant
we'll
this last
finish,
one?
we'll finish planting these.
No, go ahead. I was sort of trying to help. Come down, Marty. Come down. We'll do it together. Come down, all of us.
Maybe you can bring it a bit higher up.
So I wanted to say as well, as we're planting, I believe the last one, that this is being done for the purpose of creating the local partnerships that become what we call the INAB collaboratives, the empowerment network for our local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs, so FFHE as we call them, who build and operate the community Unity Garden learning centers. Our global network of interconnected INAB collaborative empowerment networks, those UnityNet members, work with each other to help and create the conditions and begin the transition from the current extractive economy toward a compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. We call it Ubuntu for business, and we do it by leveraging regenerative solutions. You might ask yourself, where are we going with this? The answer is toward a new era where we can co-create a new set of regenerative development goals, a post-sustainable development framework for 2030 to 2045 that will allow humanity and our children to thrive, even on a much hotter planet, by focusing on local solutions that allow us to build a compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So I wanted to mention as well that the second event that I mentioned, there is 4 other events that we want to do. So at this event, I want to mention the important upcoming events and projects, including a globally coordinated community bubble fun festival that we'd like to become a family sports or dancing event. The event is designed to allow youth and families to have fun while they learn about the miraculous properties of bubbles and how we can use bubbles to potentially allow humanity to more easily adapt and perhaps even to thrive in a warming and changing global climate, especially in the areas of the world where the impacts of climate change, global warming, will be felt the most severely, including here in Canada, especially in the north, in mountainous areas, as well as in places like sub-Saharan Africa and South and Southeast Asia. So the globally coordinated community bubble fun festivals are intended to take place on any date between August 9th and 19th, where August 9th is the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, and August 9th is World Humanitarian Day. Between those two dates is also August 12th, the International Youth Day. So the Ubuntu Summit event, which takes place on October 4th, global coordinated motion picture film, about Muslim Christian peace that speaks to the urgency of our present situation. The film is called The Sultan and the Saints, and the virtual film screening will be followed by a virtual dialogue about the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors process of globalization of the global goals. This film tells one of the great lost stories from history and speaks directly to the conflicts of today. The Global Climate Smart Youth Forum event that I mentioned before is scheduled to take place both in person and virtually as a hybrid event on October 16th, 2022, during the Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which goes from October 4th, Global Cooperation Day, to October 16th, World Food Day. We'll also do this event in cooperation with UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. An optional event this year, we're still in the process of establishing the INAP collaboratives and the local teams, is the globally coordinated community tree planting event that will be designed to establish 3D polyculture food forests in local communities around the world. If we do this event this year, it will only be done in local communities where local UnityNet INAP collaboratives have been established, and where the members of the local community partnerships wish to establish a Unity Forest Unity Garden designed for delivering the UnityNet learning programs. So the globally coordinated community Unity Forest Unity Garden tree planting events could potentially be done during the proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, leading up to the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum event. So as we move forward, I would like to mention as well the names of the people who are collaborating with us. I will do that in a moment. I just need to go get that from my.
Sure. And while Lloyd has gone, we're going to talk about today, June 5th, 2022, which is World Environment Day. It's the biggest international day for the environment. Led by the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, and held annually since 1973. The event has grown to be the largest global platform for environmental outreach, with millions of people from across the world engaging. World Environment Day is a global platform for inspiring positive change. With over 150 countries participating, this UN International Day engages governments, businesses, civil societies, schools, celebrities, cities, and communities, raising awareness and celebrating environmental action. Over the past 5 decades, millions of people have taken part in World Environment Days, helping drive change and motivate national and international policy. Each World Environment Day focuses on a particular theme, covering issues like marine pollution, global warming, sustainable consumption, and wildlife crime. World Environment Day puts a global spotlight on the pressing environmental challenges of our times. This UN International Day has become the largest global platform. The focus The focus for World Environment Day 2021 was ecosystem restoration, celebrated under the theme of reimagine, recreate, and restore. For too long, humanity has been exploiting and destroying the planet's ecosystems. Every 3 seconds, the world loses enough forest to cover a football pitch, and over the last century, half of all wetlands have been destroyed. As much as 50% of coral reefs have already been lost, and up to 90% could be lost by 2050, even if global warming is limited to an increase of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now in 2022, the theme of World Environmental Day is One Earth. There's only one Earth. The World Environment Day 2022 global campaign, Only One Earth, calls for transformative changes to policies and choices to enable cleaner, greener, and sustainable living in harmony with nature. It will focus on the need to live sustainably in harmony with nature and our possibilities for shifting to a greener lifestyle through both policies and individual choices. Only One Earth was the motto for the 1972 Stockholm Conference. 50 years forward now, the motto is as pertinent as ever. This planet is our only home, and humanity must safeguard its finite resources. The year 2022 is a historic milestone for the United Nations Environmental Program and the global environmental community. It marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of the UNEP as an outcome of the Stockholm Conference. It also coincides with the high-level Stockholm 50+ international meeting. These emblematic events serve as an opportunity for the international community to strengthen cooperation and show leadership in the transformation towards a more sustainable society. In the universe are billions of galaxies. In our galaxy are billions of planets, but there is only one Earth.
Thank you, Steph.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
So I would actually like to as well, if possible, where's our tree? Can we go to the tree here? We have our tree of peace and reconciliation. Move it a little bit closer. So I will be reciting a poem at the tree. This is a lyric poem by American poet Joyce Kilmer, written in February 1913, entitled Trees. So I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowering breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow is lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. So as a final remark on this day, I want to mention some important people I'd like to thank for this event happening today. You might be surprised by who's involved. So we have Andrew Williams Jr. behind the camera from the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors as the founder and chairperson and our media partner, Andrew Networks. We have Stephanie Schuller from the Maui Aloha Project. We have Mark Prasangi from Carbon Shot Earth. We have Tasnim Jivachi from the GTA Bubble Fun Festival local team. We have Carlos Richard Sanko from UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. We have Bill Sosinski from Energym University in Manhattan. We have Adam Greenwell from Energym Global Cooperation Turtle Island in New Zealand. We have Corin Smith from the Greater Unity Pandemic, who helped to start all of this, who's working with people like Onika Best. We have Jeff Kukro in the Philippines. We have Patrick Kaka in the Democratic Republic of Congo, who's working with people like Nicholas Ndilika. We have Evans Lukamona at Twikitani EV in Germany. We have Jane Njoroge at UnityNet Kenya. We have Mohammed Mustafa Sanko in Guinea. We have Ayodele Isaac Olubudon in Uganda. We have Patrick Nkoma from Trilay Foundation in Malawi. We have Juliet Miabo in South Africa, Gemma Skaters. We have Samson Ulot in Kenya. We have Lisa Anise Sutphin in California from City UNESCO. We have Michael Scher in Thornhill, who designed the Indigenous Unity flag. We have Gabrielle Malaika in Uganda, who has been helping the seniors and elderly. We have Kelly McGarrell at the Unity Eco Village Network. We have Maurice Obuya in Kenya with UnityNet Forests. We have Madly Louise in Martinique. We have Prophet Cox, who has taken on the UnityNet Health Network. We have Jenny Carrington at the Earth Schools, who walked across the USA for this cause. We have Dr. Monday Amadou in Nigeria, who has promised to host our Global Climate Smart Youth Symposium event this October. We have Angela Argentina at Kindred Kitchens. We have Joan Kerr at the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities for always being with us to support what we do. We have William Danchin from UnityNet Kootenays in BC. We have Ambassador Princess Sheppy from the UnityNet South Africa and Future Lift Foundation. We have Queen Mother Nina Womack from Transmedia 360. We have Sir Bailey from Souls Are Soils, the Agribusiness and Culture Fellowship. We have Nikki DePina from Global Peace Let's Talk. We have Aubrey Zhang from Pyropod in BC. We have Richard Nelson from the Solar Roof Company in Montreal. We have Pradeep Sabkota and Ganga Awal at UnityNet Nepal. We have Michael Chen from the Markham INAB Collaborative local team and the Food Forest South Markham Community Group. We have Ambassador Rubina Ali in Tanzania. We have Terrence Mayfield in Los Angeles with the Soul LA Collective and UnityNet USA. We have Meenakshi Sahani at UnityNet India and the Commonwealth G20 Partnership for Regenerative Development. And all the people from Drawdown Markham, including Andre Chin from the CSF Development Group. I hope that I did not forget anyone. If I did, I must apologize.
Well, I'd like to add Douglas Jack, who is Douglas Jack? Douglas
Yes.
Jack, yes.
Yes, Douglas Jack is with the Indigenous community in Montreal.
Yes, and also we must mention that there was a simultaneous tree planting as the one that we're holding here in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. At the same time, there was a tree planting happening in Africa.
In many different countries of Africa, I
Many
believe we will do a report to show that this ceremony was held in multiple countries around the world, but mostly in Africa and Canada.
Yes. And
We
to
do have-
close, we would like to share a loving kindness practice. It's one of my favorite meditations that I learned at the University of Toronto, OISE, with my professor, Dr. Jack Miller, who is one of the pioneers of holistic education. And this was in my contemplative practitioner course. And it's supposed to cultivate a sense of compassion as we center ourselves first in the heart area. I feel that that's very significant right now because these trees that are being planted for peace and reconciliation are from our hearts and to connect with the hearts around the world. And so I invite you to consider visualizing the people whom you are sending thoughts of well-being to. Sorry. And so I invite.
I actually have a little bit more I missed at the
Oh.
bottom of this page.
Oh,
Could I do that before your final closing?
Sure,
Because
go
I
ahead.
would like to mention the second event that I did mention, the Ubuntu Summit, actually has relevance to our Global Unity Network Peace Centers initiative. So we wish to establish a Unity Peace Centers network where each peace center would include the 5 different Unity Gardens in each location. So the Unity Gardens consist of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure solutions set up as localization learning centers, consisting of interactive, intergenerational, hands-on hybrid learning classrooms, where both local and virtual life value peace education programs and curricula will be delivered to local citizens across generations, and where the same local citizens can and will be empowered to take those learnings into their communities and into their daily lives. So if we can finish up today with your prayer, and then we'll end today's events.
Sure.
Stephanie, we lost your visual, so you need to, your video's not showing. We hear you, but we don't see you. Now we see you.
Okay, good. Okay, so I invite you during this practice, this meditation, to consider visualizing the people whom we are thinking about and sending thoughts of well-being to. And I ask you to put your feet on the ground. You can do so bare feet or not.
I think I will.
So that we could ground in with the earth, so that we could ground in with the seeds, so that we could ground in with the roots of these very trees that we have just planted here, with the hopes of their growing, with the hopes of communities and children gathering around and playing and seeking shade and beautiful fruits and foods from the trees that we plant, and from the ripple effect that we hope will continue throughout the world of planting trees and encouraging children and communities to engage as stewards of the earth. So I ask you to place one hand over your heart and one hand over your belly, over your solar plexus, where all of our organs are. And you're going to repeat after me. and try to take an in-breath, filling your belly full of air, your entire breathing, your entire lung system in each of what you're going to repeat. May I be well, happy, and peaceful.
May I be well, happy, and peaceful.
May my family be well, happy, and peaceful.
May my family be well, happy, and peaceful.
May my friends be well, happy, and peaceful.
May my friends be healthy and peaceful.
My neighbors be well, happy, and peaceful.
May our neighbors be well, happy, and peaceful.
May my colleagues be well, happy, and peaceful.
May my colleagues be well, happy, and peaceful.
May all beings in this region be well, happy, and peaceful.
May all beings in this region be well, happy, and peaceful.
May all beings on this continent be well, happy, and peaceful.
May all beings on this continent be well, happy, and peaceful.
May all beings on this planet be well, happy, and peaceful.
May all beings on this planet be well, happy, and
And may
peaceful.
all beings everywhere be well, happy, and peaceful.
And may all beings everywhere be well, happy, and peaceful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
Namaste.
Stephanie. This concludes today's ceremony. The one thing I do want to mention as well is UnityNet International manages the Global Unity Network and the various local and globally coordinated local community engagement events. We will be issuing a press release following today's tree planting ceremony. So this does end today's announcements, and today's Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremony is now concluded. I wish everyone a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Except we have Carlos Richosenko with us now. And if possible, Carlos may want to unmute and introduce himself. Perhaps, Carlos, can you hear us?
Hello, Carlos.
Hello, Carlos.
There he is.
Hello.
Hey, Carlos.
Good to see you.
We're here to help you. Help UnityNet Africa
happy.
diaspora. We're gonna make this happen across Africa, across and around the world, on all continents.
This is for sure, for sure.
This is your leadership, you know. This is your
Oh,
leadership.
yes, and that is Mark, that is Lloyd. And who is this?
Marty, hi.
Say hello to Marty.
Okay.
He's going to be helping us in Ottawa.
Oh, and Stephanie, she's there. All right, okay.
But Carl,
Hi, Carlos. This is our friend
Yeah.
Stephen also.
A friend of Marty.
Carlos
Yeah.
Richard Sanko.
Friend of everybody.
Yes,
We welcome
I'm
all.
with you. Yes, we are one. I love this. African love this. African
Sierra Leone. He's on the call now.
love you. African love what you're doing. Let's keep
We have
the ball
John.
rolling. We are a team internationally.
So
Yeah.
we will twin this
Thank
tree,
you so
these 10 tree of peace here with the 10 trees in Africa in Sierra Leone that you planted 2 years ago on this very day.
Yes. Yes.
which is what I like Carlos to do, to introduce himself and tell us about his organization and UnityNet and the tree planting before we close out. Could you be so kind, Carlos?
Great. Fine. Again, my name is Carlos Richard Sanko. I'm the president of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, UNAD.
Yeah, continue.
Yep, go
I
ahead.
am also a co-founder of UnityNet International. We have the Global Unity Network International. I'm currently in Sierra Leone, all over Africa, or in few countries. We are today observing this World Environmental Day by demonstrating planting some trees in our different communities. Of course, already I've started getting some reports trickling through the pages of UnityNet Africa to showcase what they are doing, what the willingness to join globally with you as a team in Canada and to ensure that we promote this wonderful day with planting trees of peace and reconciliation. Congratulations, congratulations to all of us. This is great. Let us reborn Mother Earth. Let us reclaim and promote the safety for our world. Let us promote food security by planting trees of food, of trees that have food. That's what we are doing in Africa. So today we are planting numerous fruit orchards to ensure that Africa should promote tree planting in order to ensure we have food security. So I'm very happy to join you as a global team, a member. We are happy, we are with you, we are a team. The rest of the Africans, they say congratulations to you, the team in Canada and America. Prince Andrew, thank you, your network. You're doing so much wonderful. This is great. So we're going to be moving. The next one is going to be Africa, it's not only Canada.
That's
The
it.
team has to move.
Thank you, Carlos, so much. You've just been such a tremendous ally for us,
So
working with
let
all
us show them.
people.
Yes.
Let us
Yes.
show them. Yeah.
Let us show the world,
Thank you.
Africa, the leadership
Yes.
in the next generation of
Yes.
young people
Yes.
creating a new era
Yes.
of, as I said,
Yes.
the compassionate, collaborative, regenerative
Yes.
economy
Yes.
that leaves no
Yes.
one behind.
Yes.
And
Yes.
as we close,
Yes. Yes.
I would like to give thanks also to Reverend, excuse me, to Reverend Sampson in Kenya, who himself planted a tree during your ceremony there in Canada. So we do have that footage as well. Also, we do have a guest here who's been with us off and on from the beginning. And before we close, if you could unmute yourself and introduce yourself, we would appreciate it. And then I'm going to go to the Eventbrite page and scroll through that, Lloyd, so we can also acknowledge our sponsors. So please, if you could unmute yourself. I believe your name is Nick. Nick, if you're there, can you unmute? Oh, he doesn't have an audio. So I'm going to share my screen briefly with the Eventbrite page so we can give thanks to our sponsors as well. Typically, as Lloyd mentioned, we have so many people that are supporting us that sometimes we don't give them full recognition. So at least we'd like to first acknowledge the fact that this is the first 2022 AHIABGA UnityNet Abraham Tree Planting Project. And now I think I'll be able to take us over to the website here. Yes. Just a moment. Yes, here we are. So this is the website for the Eventbrite event today. And I'm going to scroll through briefly. I did put the link in the chat, although everyone here has it. But the Indigenous Unity flag is something that Lloyd mentioned earlier. That was created by Michael Schuller. And I do want to acknowledge the fact that Michael and I were both among the first 200 Facebook ambassadors appointed back in 2009 by GlobalCal International, globalcal.net. So I'm fully in support of the Indigenous Unity flag as part of our DNA. And we are, of course, celebrating World Environmental Day. On the Eventbrite page, you can find links to give you background on this day. As Carlos mentioned, he is part of, and Stephanie and Lloyd are all part of UnityNet International, including our partners, Re-Energize University. And as Lloyd also mentioned, it was actually Liz Greenwell's work that began many years ago that inspired me to reach out to Lloyd as he was championing the October 4th, excuse me, the October 4th Global Cooperation Day that inspired Corin Smith in Bermuda to reach out to his contact there, Salim Talbot, and we're at the crossroads of the Atlantic to begin our peace and reconciliation planning on the grounds of Her Majesty in Bermuda. So we actually were able to do that in 2019. John R. Markham, of course, is well represented here, and AHIABGA, which is a name we created, and we actually sent it viral. So it has a life of its own thanks to the work we're doing here. This is part of the Global Unity Network. Mark, you're represented, of course, by Carbon Shop Earth. My own organization is here, 5 Points Youth Foundation. Even though I actually launched AHIABGA as president of 5 Points, my work for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals actually began in 1999 with the launch of the United Nations Global Compact, and then the 2000 launch of the Millennium Development Goals, of which the Sustainable Development Goals is the second iteration. We are hoping to encourage the world to consider the next naming to be the Regenerative Development Goals, symbolizing our unity with the earth. It is AHIABGA-TV and Andrew Networks that is hosting this and intends to rebroadcast this to the global audience. We also see UnityNet Forests, we have Climate Smart Food, CSF Development Group, UnityNet Culture and Diversity, Indigenous Global Unity. Let me scroll back up here, which meets every Thursday at, I think it's 8 a.m. Los Angeles time. Here we have the Native American TIO organization by John T. Moss, representing the Indigenous Peoples of Americas, the Unity Biodiversity Network, Unity Learning Network, Climate Smart Kitchens, Unity Gardens, Unity Peace Centers Network, Unity Network Canada, Unity Eco Village Network, Stephanie's own Maui Aloha Project, Regenerative Living Learning Lifestyle Network, Global Peace Let's Talk, for which Lloyd and I were recently added onto their execution team for Global Peace Let's Talk, Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development, the World Humanitarian Organization for Peace and Equity out of Nigeria, for which I'm also chairperson of the International Advisory Board. So we have their full support as well going forward. The Saga Foundation, and just to let you know, even though this is based in Nigeria, the founder, Schuller, is actually in the parliament in Canada, and he's reaching out to the Indigenous people there in the Manitoba area. So Stephanie and team, I'd like to connect you with Schuller and his representative as soon as possible to make sure we connect that dot. We also have the Unity Women and Feminist Network, Ties and Kids, Caring for the Vulnerable, Jehovah Alive for Old Age, the National Federation of Women Farmers, Tri-Life Foundation, the Soweto CSI Council by Juliet Mayabo, Gemma, which is also by Gemma Skaters Youth Development Program, which is also by Juliet Miyago, Village Synergy, the EdFu Foundation here in the United States, actually in Oakland, California. It was actually the EdFu that provided our free platform for the first 18 months that the AHIABGA network stepped in to take over, but we are still supporting and being supported by the EdFu Foundation. The Future Lift Foundation is headed by Princess Seppi out of South Africa.
Somehow we lost the screen sharing.
I still see it on my screen.
That's okay.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, well, we still have it. So Cycle of Success is by Terrence Mayfield here in Los Angeles, California. Again, Gemma Productions, another Juliet Mayoba production. African Coaches League by Ezra Kennedy, who is also appointed both myself and Janice Da Silva, who's a co-founder of AHIABGA, to his global advisory board. And we have, of course, Tukani and Tukani Continental, which represents multiple of our stakeholders around the world. the JBS Foundation, the Golden Era, BH, oh, I believe that's the Hallmark. Let me make sure. No, I can't read. This is too small, but perhaps you recognize the visual. P-Man Prestige Foundation, Dance and Fitness Concepts, Lisa Suptik. Yep, the Continental Dance Club. I don't recognize his name. I think we're at the end of it, Lloyd.
Yep, the
So-
last one at the bottom there is actually the host of our second tree planting event that's this afternoon.
Oh, wonderful.
He's a
Fantastic.
member of SID UNESCO that Lisa Anise is helping us to connect.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Okay, I see Nick is trying to join us again. I'm going to stop sharing my screen briefly. And unless there's some other comments, I'm going to see if Nick is still joining. Yeah, he's been here from the beginning, just observing, but he hasn't been active. And I'm not sure if his sound is going to, we'll give him just a moment. In the meantime, I do want to share my screen again and take us over to first, of course, this is World Environmental Day.global, where you can find more information about events that are happening around the world. But I do want to bring you back to the Tree of Peace that Lloyd mentioned earlier. This is, let's see if I can do this here. This is actually, as you mentioned, upstate New York. But the history, I think, is very telling, as he mentioned to you. Yes, this is the white pine. Yeah, this is the white pine that he was speaking about earlier. And the Tree of Peace, our founding fathers alluded to, was a white pine, the symbol for the Iroquois Constitution, known as the Great Law of Peace. According to oral tradition, the leaders of 5 Iroquois Confederacy planted a white pine after its founding in the 15th century. The Iroquois Confederacy originally included 5 tribes, the Mohawk, the Seneca, the Cayuga, Onondaga, and Oneida, and later joined by the Tuscarora. The territory they controlled included large parts of what is now New York. And earlier you mentioned the project in Canada, 1 million trees. I, of course, put this in the chat, both here and on Facebook, but it is, in fact, our work today that furthers the intent for us to be stewards of our planet, not just in Canada, but globally. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and open the floor for any closing thoughts.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for going through the list of all our partners. I wasn't able to find time yesterday with all that was happening to be able to make a list of all of these organizations and follow the network that we're building. In my remarks today, and my thanks for all the people that have helped to make this happen. So we are at the beginning of a journey, at least for the next 8 years until 2030, as we move toward the end of the Sustainable Development Goals. But we are using those tools that the UN has given us, those days, those commemorative days, and those sacred things that have happened in the past, and we are remembering the work that has been done before us, and we're building on that and making sure that our children especially understand the importance of all of these things that are connected to the earth and our stewardship of it.
Wonderful.
So thank you, Andrew. And this concludes, I believe, our event today.
Okay, very well. Well, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop recording, and I am going to close the Zoom, but it will actually be open for anyone that wants to have an event later today. You just have to call me on WhatsApp, +1 213-274-3675, or email me at Andrew@AndrewNetworks, and we'll use this very same link and come back again later today. So thank you all for participating with this. and we look forward to working and networking with you as we go forward to the future.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks.
We love you.
We love you too. Namaste, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you.